going on, guys? So I wanted to do something special in 2026 for people that want to be able to grow and scale their Amazon business. So I thought, why not make a series where I'm going to document. You guys are going to see everything behind the scenes of what it takes to add $1 million of revenue. That is my goal. I want to show you guys everything, making the phone calls, the rejections, the long nights, making pivots, planning everything out, just overall the strategy that's involved after been selling on Amazon for over 6 years and doing this for a long time. I want to give you guys a real life scenario that it's not as easy as it seems, and I want you guys to copy me, right? Like, just literally watch what I'm doing and just implement the same things that I'm doing. And if it's not working, I'm going to make changes. But I really wanted to make this series for you guys so that way you can get more comfortable and confident in your business and realize that no matter where you are in your journey is really all about just taking action, right? You're never gonna have all the answers. You're never gonna know the exact process. But the one thing that's going to stop you is just inaction. If you're not yet a subscriber of YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. Also, like and share. And I'm looking forward to going on this journey with you guys. So see you guys soon. What's going on, guys? My name is Paul. If you're new here, I've been selling Amazon for the past 6 years, and I'm going to be documenting my journey of adding $1 million to my business. Now, if you don't know what brand direct is, essentially you're just working with established brands directly, buying their products at wholesale, and then selling them on Amazon. Now, first thing that we want to be able to do on day one of mapping this out is creating a plan. After selling on Amazon for the past 6 years, there's a strategic way that I want to do this. So the first thing that I want to start with is the goal, right? So the target is $1 million of additional revenue added to my business. Now, how I'm going to do this first is by figuring out the average sale price, or AOV, or ASP, whatever you want to call it, but ASP stands for average sale price. And I want to target products that are greater than $30 at bare minimum. For us to be able to get to $1 million in revenue off an average sale price of $30, so units sold for the year needs to be 33,333. Now, I know that sounds like a very large number, but realistically, it's not as big as you guys think. You just got to break it down into digestible things, and that's exactly what we're trying to focus on here. The next step, which is going to be, how do we actually find, map out, and plan for these goals? So these goals are great, but anyone can just write down, I want to make $1 million business, right? You need to create a real strategy around it. And how many brands do we actually need to get to $1 million? So we could do it a few different ways. Do a brand of just literally one. We can do brand of 3, brand 5, and brand of 10. Now, for me personally, what my goal is going to be is to focus on this. For me to go land one brand that does $1 million is going to be challenging. Whereas if I can stack 10 brands, that's what's going to get me to my goal. And realistically, I would actually even go wider than that. Now, for us to be able to land 10 brands, we need to kind of map out how many brands do we actually need to contact in our business, because there's going to be a small percentage that actually want to work with us. In my head personally, it's going to be around a 1 to 2% conversion rate. For every 100 brands that I call, 1% or one brand will say yes. That will fall into this bucket here. So that means that for me to get to 10 brands at $100,000 means that I need to go and make 1,000 phone calls. We need to find 1,000 brands, 1,000 phone calls that we need to make in order to hit that goal. Now, obviously, if we lower the numbers, 5 brands, 3 brands, and this number will change as well. But I'm going to stick to that number. And the next step is kind of figuring out profitability behind the numbers. If I'm focusing on products that have an average sale price of $30, my GM, gross margin, is going to be 15%. For every product that I sell will be around $4.50. Now, typically for an Amazon wholesale business, I would say on average, you could expect your operating expenses on the low end to be like 4% to 7% is what the target or what the range would be if we get to 5% of expense margin. That will get us to a net margin of 10%. So if I go and I add $1 million of revenue to this business, I can expect to make an additional $100,000 in profit, and that would be like my bare minimum. Our goal is to go higher. We want to be able to have a higher profit margin, but our goal here is to get into the door with the brands. Now, how we're going to do this and how we're going to be able to get into the door with the brands is a few different strategies. First thing that we need to do is we need to track every phone call. Okay, so inside of my software, Third Party Profits, and we're building out an AI that's going to allow me to record the calls and take the transcripts and give me live feedback for distributors and brands. Every single phone call that I'm going to make, I'm going to track and put the transcript into the software. That way, every single time I make a phone call, I'm getting smarter about my approach. I want to learn the objections. I want to see what the fears are, what they're saying, what I did well, what I didn't do well. And more importantly, in the future, I can then go and hire and train people and give them all of those assets that I've created because I've recorded them and I've documented them. The second thing is we need to dial in follow-up process. In Amazon Wholesale, whether brands or distributors, the most important thing is the front end, which is the brands and suppliers that you're contacting. If you don't have access to opportunities, you're never gonna be able to grow your business. We're gonna get told no. We might get told no for years. I mean, there is a wholesale account with the distributor that literally took me 5 years to land, of rejection after rejection after rejection, and then finally it worked out. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because the follow-up process is where the money is made. Anyone can go make a phone call to the same brand that I'm contacting, that you're contacting, but the difference between the person that works with that brand is this right here. What we want to try to focus on when we're calling these brands, if they end up saying no, we need to create a paper trail. And that paper trail is going to be an email. More or less, let's say I call a brand today and they say, hey, Paul, at this moment, we're not accepting new Amazon customers or resellers. We're full. Say, no worries. Is there any chance that in the future you're going to be opening up new spots? And maybe they'll say, yeah, you should call back in 90 days. Awesome. That's great. Can I just have an email for someone that I can reach out to? You always want to get their information because they might not email you, right? So when I go and I capture their email, then I want to start an email thread. I appreciate your time. Thank you for letting us know that at this moment you're not accepting new customers. We look forward to working with you in the future. And now when I go call them back, because I'm going to have a dialed in follow-up process, I'm going to know when to contact them, how many days out, who I spoke to, what that conversation was about, because I have the transcript. I know what the objections are. And at that point, when I follow up, it's like, hey, I spoke to Stacy December 31st of 2025. You guys told me to reach back out in 90 days to see if there's any openings. We're here. That's how you can skip the line, is by showing that you have a real business, because real businesses have a sales process. Okay, the next thing, we need to send out something called RFQs. So this is going to be request for quotes. So what we're gonna be doing, back to using third-party profits, is that we're gonna go and see all the brands and we're gonna go build out purchase orders for these brands. So when I go and I approach the brands, I don't wanna go empty-handed. I wanna be able to go to them and say, hey, we're interested in these products. This is the quantities that we'd be looking for. And then that way we're kind of coming to the table with something, right? We're not just saying that we wanna become a customer, we're actively looking to become a customer. For us to be able to hit this goal, 1,000 phone calls, and guys, by the way, this is for like the year. So I need to make 83 phone calls in order to get to this target. For anyone that wants to be able to build $1 million business, if you're not willing to commit to 83 phone calls a month, then honestly, business is not gonna be for you. Straight up. Like 83 phone calls for salespeople, they make that in a day. So outside of the phone calls is that we need to build a pipeline and having priority. Now, when I go to approach a brand, and this is just my personal opinion after working with some brands, I'm not looking to tell them how to run their business when I make a phone call, right? Telling them like, hey, your images are messed up, or hey, your SEO, or this is what we can do for you. What I wanna be able to do is just simply get in the door, create a conversation, break the ice, and then I'm going to let the value of myself and my company prove to them I'm able to work with them and provide value to their business. And it's a lot easier for someone to want to listen when they know who you are, when they know, like, and trust you. So that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to break that barrier, that initial cold outreach phase, and get into the warm phase. The pipeline is also going to be embedded in third-party profits. So just a kind of a high-level view of what we're going to be doing here. Our target is $1 million a year that we're going to add in revenue. We want to sell at minimum $30 an average sale price for the products. It's around 33,000 units. Our minimum gross margin is going to be 15% with a net margin of around 10%. I want to go and I want to be able to track every single phone call that I make. I'm going to follow that process within the software, third-party profits. I have a dialed in follow-up process. So for those that say no, you guys will be able to kind of see the exact thought process and how I'm going to work behind it. And then also send out RFQs. Now, my strategy is not trying to land one goldmine brand. My strategy is to try to land 5 to 10. If we can land a few great brands, that'd be amazing. But my expectation is this, if not landing 15 to 20 brands. I know that for every 100 brands that I call, around 1% will say yes. That's my expectation. I'm not going in saying I'm gonna make a phone call, they're gonna say yes. I know that 99% of people are gonna say no. We have too many resellers. I already know that's going to be the answer. That's what I'm walking into. These are the things that I need to do in order to get to this goal. Now the next steps, we're gonna start building out the pipeline. The next video that you're gonna see is us starting to add brands into the software. I am gonna be a little bit private about the brands that I'm doing. Like I'll kind of blur out the brands, but I wanna show you guys the pipeline I'm gonna build out. That way you guys kind of have an understanding of what my goals are. So my goal would be to add 20 to 50 brands in my pipeline tomorrow if I'm able to. And then from that point, we're gonna continue to add more and more and more. And for me, before I start calling, I wanna get to around 1,000 brands in my pipeline. That way I'm prepared and ready to have the gasoline for my business. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm super excited for what's to come next with this. You guys are gonna see everything, the rejections, conversations, a follow-up process. I mean, everything behind the scenes in order to add $1 million of revenue to the business. And I think that I will be able to accomplish it by just doing these certain things. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and I'll see you on the next one.